Welcome back to The Ether, the show that disrupts the way you think about running your business. Join me, Brandon, and my co-host, Sean Delaney, the creator of What If, on today's episode. Our goal is to provide context around what we talk about so you have the clarity to cut through the noise and the confidence to grow and run a truly harmonious business. Let's jump in and take the next step to achieving business freedom. Yo, what's crack-a-lackin', Sean?
Oh my God. We're still doing that.
We're still doing it. I'm still trying to push
that?
that boundary of how far can I go before you just leave the studio like you did that one time.
It's an easy equation. Violate an NDA, I leave. That's it.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
but how close is what's crack-a-lackin' to violate an NDA? Is it separate but equal? I mean, so far so good.
It's cringe-inducing, but it doesn't make me leave. Doesn't make me leave.
Oh, shizzle my nizzle.
I love a bad party. Sometimes more than a good party. So sure. I'm not the one that has to say those words and look myself in the mirror.
Yeah. I do. And I'm okay with it.
You know what? I'm not going to say anything about it. You run not one but two popular podcasts. So who am I to judge what you are, the magic you're cooking up over there?
See that? The people love me. Anyway, enough about me. Let's talk about what we're here to talk about for the people who want to listen to what we're talking about to them. Should we do that?
You should run for president. That is amazing.
Oh man, unencumbered by what has been.
Let's throw in reflecting on the importance of time. You know, I like talking about time. Actually talking about time. So yes, Brandon, what are we doing today?
We are talking about how to stay nimble and adaptable in a fast-paced world. That sounds fun, necessary, maybe a little boring, but we should make it fun. Are we down for that?
That's not boring at all. Being a nimble. So so we're a small company remaining agile as we scale. This is topical for us because we are building a company right now that needs to be infinitely scalable and yet very nimble and very agile, very quick. So let's talk about this. It's top of mind. Should be top of mind for everybody because it is a topsy-turvy world. We, after COVID, disrupted sanity, and we're coming home, washing groceries, and taking our clothes off in the garage. Remember that for a hot minute when that was going to be a thing?
I did that one time, and then I decided I would rather be dead than wash the groceries in the garage.
I said, I'm not living I'm not living life this way. I'd rather be dead.
Nimble and adaptable. I said, I will try this. I hate it. I'm moving on.
I'd rather be dead. The humiliation. Yeah. What killed him? The humiliation. That's what. He's wiping down a gallon of milk with a mask on his face and he's in his underwear. This is what we've.
No. We're not going back there. It's okay.
I'll take it. I'll take it. What does it do? Melt your flesh off? I'll take it. It doesn't matter. I'm not doing this anymore. Anyway, it's like, you could live to be 100 if you jogged every day and you stopped eating salt. Well, thank God I'm not doing that because I would hate to live to 100 doing that. That sounds like a punishment. All right, so let's get into how do we maintain or orchestrate if we have gotten ourselves into a place where we are rigid, immovable, and if anything changes outside of our four walls, which is going to happen, if that happens, it's going to happen. If that happens, we're dead. It's chaos in here. Let's avoid that. Should we avoid that? So thank goodness we have the HBA, the Harmonious Business Architecture, so that this doesn't get crazy and confusing. Let's use that as the lens through which we look at what it means to be nimble as a small company. So let's do it in the order that the acronym lays it out, because harmonious is a beautiful word. So the H in harmonious is home. So people, what is your business other than people working in processes to produce results? So people, huge part of that equation. So to be nimble, we have to have a culture where it's understood that things, just because things are this way today, they're not going to be this way tomorrow necessarily. We have to cross-train people. So first, you got to get the mindset of we do things differently. We're always, if we have a culture of continuous improvement, that's great. We're always looking to up our game anyway. No process is set in stone forever. We are used to that in our culture. Great. Now, disasters struck, and I don't know what to do. Jobs have to change. Things have to shift. Half our workforce can't be here today. We have to have some kind of nimbleness. Now, if they're using something like the Human Op platform and technology to understand exactly what people's strengths are and where they can fit in the organization, that is a massive lift. But let's say you're most companies and you don't have the benefits of that. At least by cross-training people who raise their hand for it and say, they would have to self-identify then as having a proclivity for learning some other things. This is why cross-training becomes a thing, because suddenly Brandon's gone. What am I going to do? There has to be somebody who can at least approximate. No one can live up to my Lego, Brandon, but somebody who can approximate the work that he's doing. Is we have cross-training. That's one way.
Nobody else could come on here and say, what's crack-a-lackin', Sean? Let's just cut right to it.
Not with a straight face and any amount of dignity.
No SOP could be that good that someone could just do that.
No, like, I'm not here to
know what I mean, Jelly Bean?
So we're going to encourage that. That's just one tip in the, we'll just do one in each of the 10 disciplines. Fair? Fair.
But real quick, because you mentioned it, it's on the screen here. Let's right there. If you're watching,
there it is. Look at you.
humanop.com. If you have not checked that out, you should check it out. There's a big announcement. If you're watching this live, big announcement tomorrow on that website. If you're watching the recording, then just go there now. Humanop.com, humanop.com, and you'll see exactly what we're talking about. And it's free, so you can have this tool. You can know exactly who's in your company and what they should and should not be doing for free. So you're an idiot if you don't. That's just my 2 cents.
I don't think it's free, but I think it's thousands of dollars, isn't it? It should be.
It should be, but it's not. Okay. H.
Analytics.
We are on the A.
We're on A. Analytics. Oh, man. What's the matter, Brandon? They didn't have the large glass. So analytics. And moonshine or something.
I got to put up with you for 30 minutes. Yeah.
Let's use anything that helps. So we're looking for real-time metrics. So what makes us nimble when we're looking through the lens of our analytics, our KPIs, we're looking for leading indicators. That's one of the reasons why we stress that so much, because if I need to be nimble, then the more notice I have, the better. Do I know what's coming down the pike? Do I have something now that is going to start flashing red to tell me you need to be aware of this? So we're looking, we can get further up in the process, we can get our metrics with some kind of accuracy, the more time we'll have to react to things, whether internal or external.
So not your P&L at the end of the month. I'm just going to toss it out there.
Oh God, no. And benchmark, because it's already over then. That's like relying on customer satisfaction surveys to understand whether or not your employees are happy, your clients are happy. Like, if it's already to the point where they're either satisfied or dissatisfied, you've lost. Okay. It's important to know, because maybe you can go and reclaim them and do some cleanup and damage control, but it's way too late in the process. And when we're talking about being nimble here, that is the point of this show, is how do we keep nimble as a small company? So KPIs, further upstream, leading indicators. Good. Risk and defense. Brandon's favorite. So for you love it. It's like your lawyer. You don't invite them to the party, but when you need them, you really need them. So risk and defense, we're going to be looking at, I have some notes over here. So obviously contingency plans, having some kind of flexibility in there, knowing where rollover sites are in the event that your site goes down, anything that could impact your delivery of service. This is looking at your supply chain as well. I mean, COVID taught everybody this lesson, I hope, that you can't count on these things. And if you know, if this one process, if this one supplier goes down, the entire business is destroyed. You need to be thinking about contingency plans there so that when things are happening, you can move with some kind of alacrity. Let's move like it's on fire, people. Okay, good. So that is, it's all that pregame stuff. You don't want to get yourself in a cycle of worrying for every single insane thing that could go wrong. What it is, here's what it is. You're not trying to predict every reason why your workforce in a location might not be able to be there. All you have to do is say, assume no one can go into that location. That has to be the assumption. Well, what would do that? I mean, we need like a mass pandemic or something, and they never happen. Says cranky person who doesn't want to do this exercise 3 months before COVID was a thing, right? There were plenty of people, but that would never happen. Right? Okay. So we're going to argue the particulars. Like, assume there's a zombie apocalypse. Well, that would never happen. Then it doesn't matter if it's avian bird flu or a zombie apocalypse. What if no one can get into that site? Oh, well, we'd be screwed. Right. So what are we going to do? Well, we would have to do X, Y, Z. Now the reasons don't matter. So you're doing this exercise at the right level of abstraction to understand what the implications are. Okay? Good. And that makes it easier, I think, rather than getting all hung up on, well, what would even cause that zombie apocalypse, and what are we going to need going forward, and how do we?
It doesn't even have to be. I mean, those are very disaster based, obviously, but it doesn't even need to be that. I mean, think like we had a client recently where they lost a contract with their biggest client, and it was, I forget the percentage, but it was something like 30 to 40% of their revenue.
Yeah.
Now, first and foremost, I never advise that your biggest contract be more than 5% of your overall revenue. So that's a risk in and of itself that you need to manage. But there was no contingency plan in place for, well, what if we did lose that contract? Didn't matter the reason. The reason was actually nothing they did. It was outside of their control. So
right,
again, doesn't matter planning for the reason, but the outcome is there, that 30% of your business just vanished overnight. Do you have a process to get leads, get new contracts? Who's going to get laid off? These are the things you need to think of in the risk and defense. It sucks to have those conversations, but it's way easier to say, well, here's the people who are tied to fulfilling that contract. I need to let them go tomorrow, and you save your payroll account. Those things need to happen in order to stay nimble.
That could never happen is said by somebody right before every disaster.
Yep. Every time.
Just zipping along in the ship that not even God could sink. God bless the Titanic. Why would we need all of those lifeboats? We don't need those. It would never happen.
Have you ever seen that chart? It's like, it's a meme, lives claimed by the Titanic, and it's a big spike in 1912, and then it's a little tiny spike in 2022 or 23. It's terrible, but I think that's a hysterical graph.
That's terrific.
Sick.
My condolences to the families, but
sorry. Anyway, go ahead.
Good one. All right. Just
M. We're on M.
Yeah. M. We're on M. Modified. This is the essence. This is change management. Do I even have to say this one? If you can't connect this to being nimble. So change management.
Then we can't help you.
So we have to know that we have a flexible process even for change management, because maybe we have to flex even that process based on whatever happened. Okay. So we're getting meta with it here. Engage employees early in the change process if you want to be really nimble, because that starts laying the groundwork for the acceptance of whatever the changes are. So, and frequently frontline people already have workarounds that they may not even be telling you about. They are understanding where there needs to be changes on things. Right? This isn't one in response to a crisis or being nimble, but I remember hearing. I went to the Disney Leadership Academy down there when Disney leadership was something that you might aspire to know. Oh, how things have changed. So I went to their leadership academy, and they were talking about, they had these giant, they run one of the, maybe the biggest laundry service in the world, one of the biggest laundry services in the world. Can't be bigger than the US military, forget it. So they have these giant machines to wash all the towels from all the hotels, and they get stuck up in there, just like when you got to reach into your washer in the back and there's something stuck to the top, and you're like, no, not this time, socks. Okay, so you need to get lost in the dryer. Okay, great. So they have these giant machines and to wash the towels, and they'd get stuck way up in there. And so they had these long poles with hooks on them, and they would pull them down. Well, these hooks were making holes in some of the towels. What did they do with those? They throw them out. So a frontline employee said, well, that's bullshit. Took a pair of pliers, twisted the end so now it was rounded, and started doing that. Told some other people, they started doing that. Leadership noticed this person got their just desserts. I think they gave him a pin. I don't know. And so passes to the park. Oh, great. Okay. So I get to hear, it's a small world.
Party for the employees.
Please. Can I have passes out of the park? You never let me go home. That doesn't happen. So anyway, leadership never could have come up with that idea. They probably didn't even know the holes were happening. Or that's just the way it is. It's always been that way. We're going to lose some towels along the way. No. So it is the frontline people who frequently already are working on workarounds and things without your knowledge. So involve them in any change management procedure. So there's early adoption, and plus they might have ideas already because they've been thinking about these processes that sucked before. And now that some disasters happen, or we have some impetus that's causing us that need to be nimble and change, they're the ones to involve in the process. Great. Order. So documenting processes, clear documentation on existing processes become really helpful when we realize that we're going to have to change something. Pulling up those processes rather than saying, oh, do we even know how that thing works now that we have to change it? I mean, doesn't help you at all. And then regularly looking at your processes for process improvement already has you in the mindset of nothing stays the same forever. We are always iterative. We are nimble. It may not look that way if we don't have to make major changes, but we have that mindset. And so it's going to be an easier thing for us all to deal with when change is forced upon us. Navigation. Obviously, any changes that we're making in response to any impetus, even no impetus at all, must first conform to our core values and our mission, and hopefully be keeping us on track to the vision. Now, the vision might get knocked sideways if something big enough happens in the marketplace, or some major regulation comes out, something happens so that a key core piece of your business that you're doing and now has to shift demonstrably, and that vision might get knocked aside. But we're still going to be marching in that direction. And certainly our mission will not have changed, and our core values never change, can't change. The mission might change if, like I said, an entire market just disappears. I don't know what that would be. But
we talked about this with like Kodak and Blockbuster and Smith Corona. We've covered those topics. It could happen. It's rare.
Could happen, but let's not say it could never happen. All right, so it could happen.
That's why I said it's rare.
It's rare. It could happen. So, but for the most part, your mission's going to stay the same, and your core values will never change. Should not. It's who you are. It's the things. It's not like, oh, yesterday I would never steal, but today, let's rip everybody off. Then it wasn't really a core value. Okay. So we're looking through in the lens of navigation when we're trying to be nimble. We're saying to everybody, this is the bedrock though. By protecting the core value and our mission, like our life depends on it, that is the tether that gives us permission to go and iterate and be nimble and change things. Because as long as we hold this sacred and never change it, then have at it with the rest. We can't cause that much damage by changing the other things. Operate, or no, where am I? Inspire. I can spell.
I can't.
Inspire. So my phone's ringing. Somebody's probably telling me stop. It's Disney. They want me to stop trashing them. I wasn't trashing them. So inspire. This is what we call leadership. The essence of leadership is inspiration, getting others to do the thing that benefits themselves and your shared mission. So you can't be telling everybody we need to be nimble, and you yourself as the leader be the most rigid person of all. So you have to lead by example, saying, yes, if there's change, and there are some leaders that say, yes, I absolutely love change. We change all the time. And then we see evidence of people getting their hands slapped for making changes. We know that what they mean is they themselves do not want to be held into any particular, they don't want to be put in a box. We've had clients like this. They're, and I'll say it right to them. They're the worst clients. The ones that say, I want those people to follow the process. Oh, we're process driven. Absolutely. There's a way it needs to be done. Great. So you're going to do that too? I'm the boss. Comes with privileges. I'm the one that, one of them actually said this right before we terminated them as clients. I'm the one that signs the checks. So I don't have to do anything. And here it is. It was the essence of why, that's why most of your workforce hates you. They what? Yes, because you force them to follow these processes. And then you say, I've never seen a process that I myself want to follow. And it's subject to change on my whim and my whim alone.
And that
I love great ideas.
Turnover rate was roughly 250% per year. So
yeah.
Fun fact.
I love great ideas. I just happen to be the only one that comes up with them. Yeah. Okay. So we see the problem here. So as a leader, you have to lead by example, be accepting of whatever the change is. If it makes sense, that is the way that you increase how nimble you can be, because it's not all the decisions don't have to be yours. All the ideas don't have to come from you as the leader. So
shouldn't,
because it really hamstrings you. Shouldn't at all. So you're gonna foster open communication about the things that we need to change, what employees' ideas they have, and so this again fosters that we're all nimble, we're all able to accept change when we have to.
Ready? You got 3 minutes for OUS. Ready, set, go.
Operate. Agile manage. So this is your project management. So just make sure you're using some kind of agile project management system. This is also why we this is also why we're doing those strategic sprints in small, because we're not going to miss very big if we're constantly coming back and checking in where we are. We are going to be automatically more nimble if no project is going to extend more than, or no project segment is going to extend more than a quarter. That's how you be fast there, and that's how you be more nimble with your project and your resource allocation. Ubiquity. So we're going to be nimble there. We're going to experiment with messaging. We're going to be not just communicating out to the marketplace, but we are going to be listening to what the marketplace is telling us. So that is our early indicators, the canaries in the coal mine, to tell us maybe there's shifting market dynamics. And who better to tell us what our response to that should be than the very people who are paying us for our response to the changes.
Imagine
what
that.
A concept. And then serenity. So we're to be nimble with serenity. We have to, so it is the allocation of our time there in serenity. So the fact that we have created a space where we have the time to breathe and be looking outside the four walls and be doing some kind of market analysis, the fact that we have given us that space, again, is the only way we can be nimble. If we're constantly heads down, hard charging, overworked, underpaid, and you ugly, all right, like I got nothing going on. If we're going to be all that, we will never see the need to change coming. And just the thought of it is going to overwhelm us because we're already struggling to do this to stay ahead. So let's get ourselves to the place we have some serenity. We understand what's important. We understand we can see the forest for the trees, and we can see that the need for change coming. And we have the space then to create beautiful solutions to impending disasters. How's that?
I loved it. That's fantastic.
Okay.
That was good.
So now we know, and by using the harmonious lenses, we know that no thing is going to be left out. We're not going to miss something. So we know the full spectrum of our business. If we're looking at all these 10 dimensions, and we're making sure that we're nimble in each one, we will have a naturally harmoniously nimble company.
Yeah, and it's to the degree that you need it. So we always talk about how harmonious is not, they're not 10 buckets that need to be full. They're dials, and you need to turn up the volume depending on your industry, your business. So if you need more order in your business because it's highly regulated, okay, you spend a little bit more time there to be nimble. If you need way more rad because you're under constant government scrutiny, I don't know what that looks like, but then you spend more time there. But
a pharmaceutical company pumping out
needs both of those for sure.
Meds, yeah. They are going to need far more around processes than somebody who says, well, I'm a house painter and I have, a few things I set up and this is the order I go about it. Great. Simple process. Beautiful. How do we make Tylenol again? There's got to be a process. Way more process. So as Brandon's saying, there are dials for the level of complexity in each of the 10 disciplines, but every one of those disciplines must have some volume or complexity in it. At least a one. Nothing can be left out.
I love it. And if you are a famous musician ready to take down the industry and take over the world, you should be very focused on rad to make sure people don't slip drugs in your pills. On that note, Sean, I know you love that. We'll see you next week. This has been The Ether.